Picture this. You just turned 15 and you decide to get a job for some little extra cash. You spend the first few months getting to know everybody and everything goes well. Then, one Sunday, your manager asks you to come help clean in the mornings. The only person there is your nice, warm, welcoming manager, and you don't think anything could go wrong. Except everything goes wrong, and you end up getting sexually assaulted that day and many days following. He tells you that if you tell anybody about anything, that he'll make things worse for you. So years later, you muster up the courage to tell the police, where you hear things like, were you raped? What were you wearing? Did you flirt with him? Are you sure that's what happened exactly? Then, when you're away from the police, you'll hear things like, you'll ruin his life. Did you even try to pull him off? I bet you liked it. You were asking for it, wearing stuff like that, and you didn't say no. Now you all just imagined that, but for me it was a reality. And similar stories like this happen all over the world. The justice system tries to find loopholes for offenders, and there should be a new way to handle the punishments given to people who do this. It should be fair and just and not just biased. Today, we'll go over all the evidence on why sexual assault is not normally reported, methods applied to a case, and what punishments would better fit. As the film develops on the photographic evidence, the judge asks you, why did it take so long for you to report it? And it all comes back to the relationship someone would have with the person doing that. A lot of times, family members are more likely to report the cases, but when they're not reported, it's normally because a family member doing something like that to you would cause you to kind of be stuck in deciding whether you should tell the police or keep your family happy. In the case of close friends or coworkers, it's more of a case where they will threaten or bribe you to keep you from saying anything. And also the fact that you really can't believe that someone like that would do something to you. And the last reason, the least likely that someone would report a case is if a stranger were to do it to you. Because if a stranger does it to you, you don't know the lengths they'll go to harm you more, or even if it will ever happen again. It's also harder to catch people who are unidentified. Now, saying that you're not affected by whoever it is that does it to you, you also have to take into the fact that a lot of people need to heal from the trauma before ever speaking about something like that. And the more time it takes to come forward, the harder it is to actually get police to do something about it, because the urgency of the issue is diminished with time. Another reason it would take a lot of people time to report a case is their distrust in the justice system, since a lot of law enforcement will see a case of sexual assault and just say that it's not worth the time, especially if it was so few times done. 6 out of 10 sexual assaulters will spend time in prison because of the loopholes that the justice system gives them. They're also offered bails or possibility of parole. The officers will give them different excuses left and right as to why they would do that. Oh, in my case, telling an adult or a police officer would make it worse because they find all these different excuses to say that it wasn't the offender's fault and it was more my fault because of what you were wearing or what you were doing. There's just all these loopholes. And if you tell someone, especially a younger person, this, it's more likely that they'll be scared to tell someone thinking that they're the one that did something wrong. Now look into the lens and imagine a bank was just robbed. You go to the police department and you tell them that your bank was robbed and all you were doing was trying to work and get everything done for the day, and a guy comes in with a gun and threatens everyone. The police officer will sit you down and ask you all these questions about if you need time to think about it to be sure what happened, what were you wearing, the basic questions like did you provoke the robber, or are you flustered and exaggerating the issue? If it was hard to imagine that ever happening to a bank robbery, it's because it doesn't normally happen in bank robbery cases, normally just sexual assault and rape cases. Now, as we go over the paper evidence, we'll talk about the ways that you can go about dealing with a sexual assault case. The forensics team alone should be able to get fingerprints and blood samples from the scene or from the victim even, and get evidence that way. The police should be able to do some investigating with witnesses or people who might know something about it. And if the DNA tests come back positive, then you have your person. If they come back negative or wonky, you might want to do some extra investigating with an attorney to do more searching, since a lot of these cases are hard to find an exact answer to. And so that it's not biased. You can also conduct interviews. I said that. Military people and police officers are also often found guilty, and these are the most common to have loopholes around them since you don't want to put a police officer in jail and obviously not a veteran. But I think that they need to be investigated more and not biased, because a veteran is someone who you're supposed to feel close or not, like, protected by, and if someone is being sexually assaulted by someone like that, then it shouldn't be in the community. 20%, people who are caught normally serve up to 20 years in prison or jail. And that's the maximum amount of years one of them would serve. So it's also really concerning that only about 6 months of those are actually served in jail. There shouldn't be any guests, gifts, or being able to be out in daylight. Then, in the case of more serious sexual assault cases or rape cases, there's a thing called chemical castration. because the people who would do stuff like that just shouldn't be walking around freely, and they're a threat to the public. I don't know what that's for. You should be taken away from people who you could hurt easily, or and also employment opportunities should be lower. And for the case of like a veteran or police officer, you shouldn't be able to go back into that field after the time is served or employed anywhere else. So now that we gathered all the evidence, we talked about why victims don't normally report, how to fully investigate, and what punishments should be made. That's it.